You're a member of our student user group right now, but you had
Correct.
used the Project Aries Learning Suite in the past. Looks like with Inteligenca.
Yes.
So what can you tell me about the cohort you were involved in with that? I know they had a few different programs that they ran.
Yes, that program was specifically, it ran from November 2020 till February 2021. Can't believe that much time has passed. And that cohort, primarily, we were studying for a Security Plus, CompTIA Security Plus certification.
Interesting. So was that part of the Sacramento Cares initiative? Do you happen to know?
Yes, that was the SacCARES, Cybersecurity Accelerator. That's correct.
Wonderful. And when you were in the program then studying for Security Plus certifications, that kind of thing, was that one of the programs that was led by Michael Kaplan?
That's correct.
Wonderful. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? Did you have a lot of cybersecurity experience before you got started in that class?
I did not. Honestly, my cybersecurity experience was limited to the end user roles at a corporation. So my end user experience with cybersecurity was the traditional corporate IT training that they give in terms of don't open up suspicious emails, password protection, and don't be downloading stuff that you shouldn't be downloading. So typical end user training into the cybersecurity. However, I've learned since the training that is like the absolutely most important part of cybersecurity. It's just so vital. It's where everything happens. All the problems happen because of the people that open phishing emails, right? So anyways, so yeah, that was the extent of my cybersecurity knowledge. However, probably like you as well, I've been using a computer since the second grade. It was an Apple IIe playing Oregon Trail, right? So
Yes.
yeah, right. So and Hangman, I remember those are two games that we played. Big old 5.25-inch floppy disks. So I am definitely a child of the modern technological age. So computers are something I've been familiar with, even to the point like I have this other computer right here on the floor where I've changed out the hard drive, I've changed out the memory, swapped out to more memory, and I've also upgraded the power supply because it was going bad, and diagnosing these things myself. So I'm comfortable with the hardware and some software side. I've also taken a couple of programming classes. So I did a little bit of a CS undergraduate. So I have some experience with the theoretical side and computer science, and of course that's a little bit of this was just totally different. It was just opening up a fire hose of information and just blasting it in your face with all these mnemonics and acronyms and just straight information technology / cybersecurity knowledge. And thankfully, we got to use Project Aries because for me, I'm kind of competitive, and I just wanted to learn. So I still do actually. I'm taking some other classes, other places, and just wanted to learn. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity because for a while there, it was just straight CompTIA guided instructor learning. So we had a CompTIA instructor remote, Jesse Glass. He was good. And then what we did next was we rolled into Project Aries and started playing some of the games, some of the battle rooms too, which was helpful. Helpful because it helps you understand kind of like the vast array of like cybersecurity positions and knowledge. Because at some point people are stuck on like penetration testing because it's cool, but there's a lot more involved in a cybersecurity incident handling, division. And so Mr. Kaplan, he came along and started to give us a little bit more mature introduction to cybersecurity. He gave us a lot of his slides, and we would walk through them. And he presented in a different perspective the same material that the CompTIA guy instructor did, which was helpful because the instructor was teaching to the test, whereas Mr. Kaplan is teaching the test application to the real world through also, anecdotes and personal experience or examples. So that was helpful. Honestly, it also depended on us, right, to be involved with Project Aries, right? So with Mr. Kaplan and Project Aries, it was good training that helped me personally pass the examination, right? I passed it on my first shot. February 18th
Congrats.
is when I passed it. They make you take a picture, and it was not a very good picture because I don't know, I guess I was like thinking about something. They didn't really care, so
It's
I saw
tough
it.
to get a good picture in those situations.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, that's kind of the experience in a very quick summary.
excellent. Well, thank you for giving me some information on that class. You were interested, it sounds like, at a very young age, getting involved with the Apple II. I'm right there with you. We used to play Oregon Trail, Number Munchers, even just the typing applications was a lot of fun. I remember 5.5-inch floppy disks. Not so long ago, right?
Right.
Things have changed a lot. So What inspired you to move from becoming a casual user of computers to being someone who was more interested in pursuing a career in cybersecurity?
I was initially an electrical engineering undergrad, and then I switched to business, particularly finance, because it had some numbers in it, right? And I was also attracted in Excel to the fact that I could be manipulating a software and getting results, right? And when I mean Excel, I know so many people, I feel bad. I see them using it as a flat file database, and that's not what it is. And I just loved it. As I proceeded in my career, I became a subject matter expert, and then I started writing my own VBA scripts, as they want to call them. I call them little programs, my macros. And so I started to write my own macros to help me get my job done faster. Then I started learning. It's called the M language. It's from the Power Query from Excel. It's not really a language per se. It kind of is though. But I started learning that, and I also started learning Power Pivot, the DAX, the formulaic language that's associated with that. And I started constructing these things at work, and I started to find myself just drawn back to that electronic engineering mindset. And I found myself taking refuge in the hardware and the software because I loved it. It's just me, and I was producing work, reviewable, repeatable, accurate work to submit to my superior, my director of finance. So I actually went back to, in 2017, I went back to a local college here, Folsom Lake College, and I started doing my computer science undergrad. I started there. So algorithms and problem solving, intro to computer science, and then also I started learning Visual Basic because for some reason they offered it there. And it was actually helpful though for programming in VBA, right? Because VBA is actually just Visual Basic for applications. So while there, I started learning more about computer science, and then learning about the security side as well as part of that intro class, and also as part of the VB class, because maintaining security of the program that you're building, and then also making sure that you're setting up proper, for like when we're reaching out to SQL servers or the Access database, making sure that we had our authorizations correct and so forth and so on. And I was like, this isn't bad. So I started doing more research on my own, and who did I find online? Can't remember. So this is back in 2017. So, I remember what it was. Because of that class, I started thinking about a guy I had met when I worked for the Farm Credit Administration, who was an auditor. He was a cyber risk auditor with the Farm Credit Administration, examining agricultural banking institutions from the farm credit system. And he had his CISA, his CISP, and he was a CPA. So he was a full-fledged accountant.
Okay.
But he didn't like accounting. I remember him talking about that. He's like, man, you need to get into this and you need to do this. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. So freaking 10 years later, his voice starts popping in my head. I was like, oh, dang, man, this dude was right. And it's kind of like a combination of my data skills, my experience with auditing and exam compliance, all the years that I spent doing that, right? And also, because that was part of my job as a FP&A, and also it's starting to combine my like of software and hardware and stuff. So I just started digging more into it 2018, 2019, and I happened to find these CyberCARES giving this free, and I just jumped on it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I'm taking it.
Wonderful.
And I mean, who is it? Oh, it's Heath Adams, I think. Heath Maverick. He's with TCM. I saw him online a couple times back in the day, and a couple other guys on YouTube. Just can't remember right now. Oh, Hack5, the Hack5 guys. I started to watch them a lot. Darren Kitchen. I can't believe I forgot. And what's her name? Snubsy. So I listened to them, listened to their podcast, Threatwire. How can I forget? Yeah, I was just like trying to remember. So they actually, listening to them on YouTube, started getting me more in the cybersecurity mindset. And
interesting. Okay, I love ThreatPost. It's one of the. I'm gonna have to check out some of the other YouTubers you were naming. So you were you were sort of casual. You were working a full-time job,
right? Yeah.
But sort of figuring out cybersecurity things on your own, and then decided to make it official. Right. So you wanted to take the theory into practice and found SacCARES. That's really cool. So it kind of worked out fortuitously for you.
Stumbled in.
Sometimes life works that way, right? So you started in on the SacCARES program, studying the CompT. Well, let me ask before I jump into that. Where are you located?
Sacramento, California.
Excellent. You get involved with SacCARES, and you get a chance to see the education platform in Project Ares. What were your initial thoughts? What was your experience like working with Project Ares?
I like the game room a lot. That in itself, I know that's not the functional purpose of it, but boy, oh boy, when you're still learning, those small little games, especially the one, I wanted to open it up, but that's all right.
The
gotta
cyber learning games.
yeah.
Portflow is one that I love showing people.
Exactly. Portflow.
Yes.
You don't know. I would not have passed. I would not have passed probably the Security Plus if I wouldn't have played that game as many times. I know it sounds stupid. I was talking with another person and it's like they were like that I was in the program with, and I told them I was like the instruction was good and that was helpful, of course, I'm not gonna lie, but Portflow was definitely a big I think I did also Battle Room 9 and Forensics. I did Battle Room 9. I spent a lot of time in that one because I had a lot of fun in it. And I did another Battle Room. I just don't remember what the other Battle Room was, 6 or 7.
6 is Linux Basics, so teaches
Yes.
command line interface.
Right,
That's a
so
great one to get started with.
I went into 6 for a little bit, and then I did Battle Room 9 and 6. I'm pretty sure those were the two.
Perfect, along with Portflow. And so you
Yeah,
cut
oh
your
yeah,
chops.
I played the heck out of Portflow. I'm trying to open it up, but I can't find it on my. I have so many silly. I have so many tabs open.
No worries.
So yeah, no, it was Portflow, and there was another one. There was a question and answer game on there. I'm just going blank right now.
So there's two. There's PsyQual, which is a quiz game, and there's also holy cow, why is it escaping me right now?
Yeah.
Let me see. I have Aries open here. Let me just launch. The other one is Trivia Loot, pardon me.
I think it was the trivia one.
Trivia Loot is a take on Jeopardy, so it's a lot of fun. Me and my team, we blow off a lot of steam just playing that on Fridays in the afternoons, just to cut our chops and then learn a little bit, but also joke, laugh around, have a good time with each other. So
also because I think it was a little bit, I think one of those, I'm pretty sure it was a Jeopardy one, meaning I could still play it without feeling like I didn't know anything. I think the CyberQual was a little bit more difficult for me.
Yes, it can be challenging.
Anyways, I can't find it. Yeah, so I mean, I know it sounds silly. You think, oh, my battle rooms would be the ones. The thing is, though, for the Sec Plus, especially the training we were doing, it's very general, and it wasn't like I'm in a, what do you call it, a military or division or an actual company's cybersecurity ops center, and I'm just a Joe Schmo learning from a quick boot camp, and it was really important that I understand a lot of the things. And I'm gonna be honest, if there was more games that were similar to that, I think it would have been a little bit more helpful as well. Not exactly like Portflow, but similar, a little smaller, digestible games. Because one thing about the battle rooms is that they're pretty long, and if you're a newbie, it's not that simple.
I agree. It can be challenging.
Yeah. So
more concise content that's friendly to beginners, because a lot of times folks may be in a class where a teacher's showing them how to do things, but if you're just jumping into the platform by yourself and you're trying to figure out your way, it's nice to have some more digestible content like you're saying. So that's why I do love to point people to the mini games, but I think that's always, room for improvement. More things like that would be hugely beneficial to students. I can appreciate that. I'm actually going to share your feedback with some other members of our team.
I'm actually studying right now for my for the Network Plus. That's what I was going to say here. It would be awesome I know that people at the cybersecurity level should have a better understanding of already networks, but having a small game like Portflow, which is a part of networking, but something that is more, let's say, like a game that specifically deals with, let's say, the OSI or the TCP UDP models, right? A quick game, just so people can refresh, or if they're learning, they're beginners, or can just play around, rearrange the TCPA UDP model, put in order, or name the different vulnerabilities with each OSI model. Phishing is at what layer, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that, right? Just simple, quick, just to have rote, but also gamify it, right? That was a thing. So that's what I'm doing right now is a Network Plus.
Pushing, learning more, and building your skills. That's excellent. So that's a great life lesson right there. You never stop learning. You're always getting after it. You started with theory then and started to move towards more practical, I guess, actual practice. Each one of us have our own paths. I think that's cool to know about students, is that there's not one straight line that leads to the end point.
That's what makes the cybersecurity industry kind of awesome. And that's kind of what also attracted me to it. For cybersecurity, barrier of entry is not very high, but that doesn't mean that the knowledge level is somehow lower. If anything, it's more challenging because the barrier to entry is low. But the thing is that there is that knowledge that is available out there. And there's a lot of industry folks who are trying to make that happen, especially like you guys at SacCARES, right? Building these project areas and some of your other products in a way that disseminates that knowledge in a much more modern way, right?
That's fantastic. So what would you want to say to other students who are considering cybersecurity right now? Do you have any words of wisdom or, words of inspiration for them?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if cybersecurity is a industry that anybody wants to pursue, they need to start at basic level, and people could call it the CompTIA trifecta, the A plus, Network plus, and the Security plus. But you need to augment that Security plus training with, if you're going to get to that point, with something like SacCARES, right, or some of the other online learning for cybersecurity, because CompTIA is great, but when you get to Security Plus, it becomes really deep really quick. So you really need to stay motivated and pursue those different avenues and different channels of education and learning. Just, that's it. Just keep it. Cybersecurity is a field that is learning at the speed of light, and you really got to be on top of it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So what is your dream job? If you could find what you were looking for.
I'm kind of torn right now, honestly, because I like forensics. I like the forensics part of it. It was pretty fun. However, I'm starting to see cyber risk audit as something that I think I'm going to find myself doing. And just because I have experience, 10 years experience in a similar field, but non-IT or cybersecurity related.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels familiar. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards, a lot of people call it GRC, but I prefer to call it by its real name, cybersecurity risk auditing, right? Because I think that's a much more focused name, and I think that's where I'm going to probably be entering.
Excellent. So moving from the financial world of auditing into the cyber risk world of auditing.
Correct. I think that's where it's
fantastic.
going to be.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Ken. Take care.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.